Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karavama Te Vira Kim Karavama Te Vira Kim Karavama Te Shri Shakuntalo Vacha Vishwamitratma Jaivaham Tyakta Menakaya Vane Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karavamate Shri Shakuntalo Vacha Vishwamitratma Jaivaham Tyakta Menakaya Vane Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karavamate Shri Shakuntalo Vacha Vishwamitratma Jaivaham Tyakta Menakaya Vane Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karavamate Shri Shakuntalo Vacha Vishwamitratma Jaivaham Tyakta Menakaya Vane Vedaitad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karavamate Shri Shakuntala Uvacha Shri Shakuntala replied, Vishwamitra Atmaja, the daughter of Vishwamitra. Notice that Atmaja means son, Atmaja means daughter. Sanskrit language is so very fine. One small change in the, not even the letter, the declension of the letter. Atmaja, Atmaja. The whole meaning changes. So therefore, Sanskrit, we have to pronounce very carefully. Every letter, every syllable, every word, we have to pronounce accurately. Then only we are properly chanting the words. Otherwise, the meaning can change, completely change. So Vishwamitra Atmaja means Vishwamitra's son. Vishwamitra Atmaja means Vishwamitra's daughter. Eva, indeed, aham, I am, tyakta, left, menakaya, by Menaka, vane, in the forest, Veda, knows, etad, all these incidents, Bhagavan, the most powerful saintly person, Kanvaha, Kanva Muni, Veera, O hero, Kim, what, Karavama, can I do, Te, for you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Shakuntala said, I am the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother Menaka left me in the forest. O hero, the most powerful saint Kanva Muni knows all about this. Now let me know, how may I serve you? Please repeat this translation after me. Shakuntala said, I am the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother Menaka left me in the forest. O hero, the most powerful saint, Kanva Muni, knows all about this. Now let me know, how may I serve you? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Shakuntala informed Maharaj Dushmanta that although she never saw or knew her father or mother, Kanva Muni knew everything about her, and she had heard from him that she was the daughter of Vishwamitra and that her mother was Menaka, who had left her in the forest. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Chatyadeshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very interesting chapter describing the descendants of Puru. So one of the most important descendant of Puru is Bharata Maharaj. There are three famous Bharatas in history, in Vedic history. One, of course, is the younger brother of Rama, the son of Kaikeyi and Dasharath Maharaj, Bharata, who is actually incarnation of God. Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna Aniruddha, the quadruple expansion of the Supreme Lord, appeared as Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, as the four sons of Dasharath Maharaj. All of them are Vishnu Tattva. All of them are incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is one Bharata. And the second Bharata is a son of Rishabdev. Rishabdev is also an incarnation of God. But his son Bharata was a great devotee of God. So he also ruled over the world, the son of Rishabha. The first Bharata, the incarnation, did not accept to become the king because he considered his elder brother as the rightful person to sit on the throne, to rule the world. So he did not accept the position of king. Of course, for 14 years he ruled on behalf of Lord Rama. And when Rama returned, he handed over back the kingdom to Rama. And Rama ruled for several tens of thousands of years. But this second Bharata, the son of Rishabdev, he was the eldest son of Rishabdev. Rishabdev had 100 sons. Rishabdev was ruling this world. And Rishabdev handed over charge of ruling this world to his eldest son, Bharata. And Bharata was ruling very nicely. So after this Bharata, the son of Rishabdev, this earth planet was called Bharatavarsha. There is another third Bharata in history, the descendant of Puru. Puru is the youngest son of Yayati. Now Yayati's one son, Yadu. In that dynasty, Lord Krishna appeared. Yadu dynasty. And in Yayati's youngest son, Puru, that dynasty, Maharaj Bharata, the son of King Dushmanta and Shakuntala, appeared. This Bharata also was very, 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 very powerful king. He became the emperor of the world and he also ruled very nicely. He was very, very, very powerful. That description will come later on in this chapter. So, Shakuntala is the mother of that famous Bharata. In some places in the scriptures it is said this earth planet was called Bharatavarsha because of the rule of Maharaj Bharata, who was the son of Rishabdeva. Yet other places it is said this earth planet was called Bharatavarsha because of the rule of Bharata, Maharaj Bharata, the son of Dushmanta. So both accounts are there. So both were ruling at different times and they were excellent emperors, ruling strictly according to religious principles and taking care of the citizens very nicely. So this Dushmanta, he once went on hunting excursion and in the forest he saw one beautiful woman sitting. And he inquired from her, "Who are you?" So her answer is given here. She replied, "I am the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother Menaka left me in the forest," because the king asked, "What are you doing in this forest all alone?" She appeared to be alone. So he's asking, the king, Dushmanta is asking, "What are you doing alone in this forest here?" So she's telling, "My mother left me here in the forest. My father is Vishwamitra, great sage, great rishi. And how did she know about this? The most powerful saint, Kanva Muni, knows all about this." So she was raised by Kanva Muni, who found this abandoned child, baby girl, and picked her up and raised her in his ashram. Kanva Muni raised her in his ashram. So when Dushmanta saw her, she was actually living under the protection of Kanva Muni in Kanva Muni's ashram. Of course, Dushmanta did not know that Kanva Muni is taking care. Now he is being informed that she is under the care of Kanva Muni. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, although Shakuntala did not ever see or know her father and mother, Kanva Muni knew everything and she had heard from Kanva Muni, who raised her, that she was the daughter of Vishwamitra and Menaka, and her mother had left her in the forest. So the lesson for us from this is what is explained throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, that actually everyone is maintained, protected, cared for, provided by the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. If at all there appears to be somebody else who's taking care, who's providing, who's giving us some protection, they are all instruments of the Supreme Lord. Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita. He tells Arjuna, you are hesitating to fight, thinking, how can I kill my grandfather and my teacher? Then Krishna displays his universal form as Kala and says, Kala has already destroyed them or is going to destroy them. So everyone is ultimately destroyed by Kala. But still, Kala is doing this work of destruction silently and invisibly. We can't see Kala in action. So, the instrument for some material activity appears to be some person, sometimes some forces of nature. It's like we say, somebody died when there was earthquake. Somebody died in a plane crash. Somebody died when there was cyclone. Sometimes we hear that somebody was killed by some other person. Or somebody died in the battle while fighting, defending some country or province or something like that. So like that, different instruments are there for Kala. Ultimately, it is Kala only who is the destroyer of everything. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita. Kalosmi lokakshayakrit. I am Kala in the form, in the universal form, Krishna. When Arjuna asked, who are you? What is your mission? Kalosmi is the answer to who are you? I am Kala. And what is your mission? Lokakshayakrit. Simply to destroy all these worlds. This is my mission as Kala. So, that Kala is actually the representative of the Supreme Lord as Paramatma. Paramatma is working, active in the entire material creation. So, one form of Paramatma is Mahavishnu, who has entered into this material energy and is beginning the creation, creating the elements, material elements, and injecting the living entities into material nature after material nature is differentiated into Mahat Tattva, and that Mahat Tattva interacts with the three gunas which become activated upon the glance of Mahavishnu. So that form of Paramatma as Mahavishnu is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord in this material world for the sake of this material creation. Then another incarnation of this Paramatma is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, another Vishnu form, who has entered into this universe and is creating the diversities as the Purusha. There is one prayer to Garbhodakshai Vishnu called Purusha Sukta. Sukta means glorification. So, glorification of Garbhodakshai Vishnu in his form as Virat Rupa, Virat Purusha, Vishwa Rupa, the universal form, in one of the universal forms. Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he creates, maintains and destroys all the living entities in this material universe. So, the actual creator, maintainer, destroyer, protector, provider is the Supreme Lord. Krishna in his form as Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, then another maintainer Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu. He is the maintainer Vishnu. He is misunderstood to be one Devata because some places he is described as one of the Devatas. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva are the three topmost Devatas in this material creation, in this material universe. But he is not Devata. He is doing the function of a Devata, but he is the Supreme Lord, personally the Supreme Lord. He is Vishnu. Then that Kshirodakshai Vishnu further expands as Paramatma, the super soul, who enters into the heart of every living being and enters into the heart of, every material atom. So the living beings are spiritual atoms. So Paramatma, super soul, enters into every spiritual atom and every material atom as Paramatma. And he is so small that he is smaller than the spirit soul, which is described as 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair point in size. So Paramatma is so small. Anoraniyam, this is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. So carefully study Bhagavad Gita. Everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is there. So the point is that even though this Shakuntala was abandoned apparently by Vishwamitra, the father, and Menaka, the mother, still by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control and direction the entire material world is working. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate socharacharam. So the Supreme Lord arranges for everyone at every stage, in every way, the Supreme Lord arranges. Only difference is, if somebody is a devotee in this material world, then the Supreme Lord's protection is personally given. And if somebody is not a devotee, still the Supreme Lord gives protection through the agency of his material energy called Maya, Durga Devi. So in any case, whether one is a devotee or not a devotee, everyone is completely protected, sheltered, provided, cared for only by the Supreme Lord through his agents. In the case of non-devotees. In the case of devotees, it is not any agency. Directly the Supreme Lord protects, cares for, takes charge of the life of devotees. So this Shakuntala, she was abandoned apparently by Vishwamitra and Menaka, but Kanva Muni actually picked up this baby which was lying in the forest and took that baby daughter, baby girl to his ashram and raised her. So, in the 7th canto, one of the prayers offered by Prahlad Maharaj to Narsimadev, he says, Balasya neha sharanam pitaraun simma nartasya chagadam udanvati majjato nauhu taptasya tat pratividhirya ihanja seshtaha tavad vibho tanubhritam tvad upekshitanam. The meaning of this verse is, my dear Lord Narsimadeva, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child when the death comes for a child. What can the father and mother do? They cannot do anything to protect the child, however nice and caring they are. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. We have heard, no? Chronic disease. People get chronic disease. No physician or medicine can cure. If the Supreme Lord's intervention is not there. And a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So basically, all material arrangements, material instruments, material remedies, material arrangements for protection cannot actually help unless there is the hand of the Supreme Lord, either directly or through his agents, agency Maya. Unless the Supreme Lord intervenes, there is no protection, there is no provision. That we have to understand. And it is never true that the Supreme Lord actually neglects anybody. Supreme Lord never neglects anybody. Never. What is the proof? That even though we cannot make out, the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is seated in our heart and is always with us as long as we are in this material world. Even when I go to hell, the Supreme Lord accompanies me. You see? So, He is always with me. He is always guiding me. He is always providing for me. Then somebody may say, if He is providing, He is guiding, He is the best well-wisher, then why do people sometimes starve? Why do they suffer? Now the suffering or starvation or any kind of difficulty is only a method of rectifying the foolish living being who has tried to become independent of Krishna's shelter. There is a disease called independence of Krishna. This is the disease that has to be cured. It's called Bhava Roga. This is the disease. The other so-called diseases are symptoms of this disease. Just like if you go to a good doctor, if you tell I'm getting fever, so good doctor will not simply say, oh, you're getting fever. Okay, I'll write some medicine. You take this medicine, you'll get cured. No. A good doctor will say, okay, fever is there. It is actually a symptom of something else that is there in the body. Some disease or infection or ailment or something like that. So he will check, he'll do some diagnosis and say, what is the cause of the fever? Exactly like that. This suffering, starvation, and all kinds of dangers, difficulties are simply symptoms of one disease, Bhava Roga. And that Bhava Roga has to be treated. Even though temporarily you may get some relief from the symptoms by some material arrangements. But if you want permanent relief from all suffering, then the root cause has to be treated. So that root cause treatment is Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, by which this Bhava Roga is cured and there will be no more suffering of any kind. So therefore, one should never think that material arrangements by themselves are sufficient for our ultimate protection, for ultimate relief. They are never sufficient, they are never complete, they are never perfect. They may give us some temporary relief, yes. So you may accept, Prabhupada says, you may accept some temporary relief. But you should parallelly work for permanent relief from all suffering. Therefore, the Varnashrama Dharma recommends that you have two kinds of duties, material duty and spiritual duty. You perform two kinds of activities, material activities, which are in the form of material duties you should do, and spiritual duty, that is devotional service to Krishna. Both you should accept. So the material duties will give you some temporary relief when required. And the spiritual duties will help you to get ultimate relief, ultimate freedom from all suffering by making spiritual advancement through devotional service. So we can understand from this incident described here that Shakuntala was protected in spite of her parents leaving her alone. And she eventually became the mother of one of the greatest kings, emperors of this world. And perfectly everything was taken care of because of the intervention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the conclusion is everyone must take shelter of Krishna, even though they may have other arrangements. That's all right. But they are all temporary. There cannot be any permanent source of protection or relief. So permanent relief, permanent protection is only given by Krishna, and we can seek that permanent protection by taking up devotional service to Krishna. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.